Good morning, students. So in this class we will discuss databases. Databases. So the information with regard to sequence, with regard to structure, with regard to function of proteins, nucleic acids, metabolic intermediates, will be stored Such storage of such information is called as database. So the storage regarding the information of sequence, structure and functions of proteins, nucleic acids, whatever biological molecules will be stored in databases. So we have different databases. So coming to the first one, protein databases. So the first one is primary protein, primary sequence, protein primary sequence databases. So which includes XPASI. So XPASI, the first one is expert protein analysis system. Expert protein analysis system. So which is created by Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics. So which is meant for analysis of protein sequence and structure, which is required for the protein sequence and structure. Next one is protein information resource. Protein information resource, that is PIR, which is given by same, that is Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics. So the right, this is given by National Biomedical Research Institute Foundation, that is NBRIF, which is given by NBRIF, which contains the annotated protein sequences, Next one is Swiss-Prot or Uniprot. So which is given by SIB, Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics, which contains the protein sequence databases, which are converted, which are modified. So the modified protein sequences are present in Swiss prot or uniprot. And next one is Tremble, TREMBL, Tremble. So which contains the information of translated information of protein sequences. So these are regarding primary structure of protein. So the information of primary structure will be placed in XPASI protein information resource, Swiss prot and Tremble. So these are the different short databases which are concerned with the primary sequence of proteins. Next, the second one is secondary protein, secondary sequence databases. So among which we have the first one is PSDB, protein sequence database. So it is the first database of secondary structure of protein. Which relates to secondary structure of protein. And the next one is ProSite. So which contains information of uncharacterized proteins. Which contains the information of uncharacterized proteins. Next, PFAM, which contains the information of different protein families. PFAM. So these are the databases which are concerned with the secondary structure of protein. Next, third one is protein tertiary sequence databases. Which includes PDB, that is called Protein Data Bank, protein data bank, which gives the 3D structures, which gives the information about 3D structures. Next one is CATH, which is class architecture, topology and homologous superfamily. Which is mainly for protein domain, information about protein domains. Next one is scope, which contains structural classification of proteins, which is about structural classification of protein structure. So which contains the information of domain structures, protein domain structures. So which are concerned with protein tertiary sequence databases. these are about protein databases, which includes three categories. So first one is protein primary sequence database, which are considered primary sequence of proteins. So that is, which includes XPASI, PIR, Swisspot, and Trimble. And second one is protein secondary sequence databases, which contains PSGP, ProSite, and PFAB. And protein tertiary sequence database, which is having PDB, CATH, and scope, that is structural classification of protein. So all these are protein database, which includes the information of proteins. Now we see the databases of nucleic acids. Nucleic acid databases. Nucleic acid databases. First one is DDBJ. DNA data bank of Japan. Data bank of Japan. Which contains prime nucleotide sequences, which contains the information of nucleotide sequences. Next, EMBL. Next one is gene bank. So all these databases are concerned with the sequence of nucleotides, that is nothing but nucleic acid databases. Third one is RNA databases. RNA databases, which includes ribosomal data bank project. First one is ribosomal data bank project. Next one is siRNA data bank. siRNA data bank. tRNA sequence data bank. So this is considered RNA databases. Next, whole genome databases. So the first one is ACEDB. So this is C. elegans. So the genome information of Chinorhabditis elegans is present in ACEDB. Next, flybase, which contains about Drosophila. So these are about genome databases. Next, we have metabolic databases. So among which we have first one is cake. So that is Kyoto Encyclopedia of Genes and Genomes, which contains information of metabolic pathways and proteins. Next, Brenda, which contains the information of functional enzymes. So these are about metabolic databases. Next, drug databases. We have PubChem, ligand, ligand depot. So these are the databases which concern with drugs, Next, literature database, which includes PubMed, Central, PubMed Central, Oxford, Nature journals, and PNA. So these are the about literature databases. And coming to the other databases, we have other databases. The first one is microarray gene expression databases. Microarray gene expression database. Next, OMIM. So information about human diseases, which contains the information about human diseases. Next, TAIR, that is TAIR, TAIR. That is about Arabidopsis, information resource. So which comes under other databases. Next, organelle genome database, which includes the genome sequence of organelles, which includes OGMP, which is organelle genome mega sequencing program, and we have GOBASE, GOBASE. Next, comparative and phylogenetic databases. Comparative and phylogenetic databases, which includes COG, clusters of orthologous groups, orthologous groups of proteins, which gives the information about phylogenetic classification of proteins. Phylogenetic classification of proteins. So this is all about the different databases in bioinformatics. which contains the structural, functional, and sequential information of proteins, nucleic acids, and other biological molecules. So the first one is protein databases. The protein databases, which includes of primary sequence databases, XPASI, Protein Information Resource, SysProt, Trimble, so which comes under protein databases. Next one is protein secondary sequence databases, which includes PSDB, ProCyte, and PFAM. Next one is protein tertiary sequence databases, which have protein data bank, PDB, CAT, that is class, architecture, topology, and homologous superfamilies, which contains the information of protein domains and structural classification of proteins, which gives the information of structural domains. So these are about protein tertiary sequence databases. And coming to the nucleic acid databases, we have DDBJ, that is DNA Database Bank of Japan, which gives the information of nucleotides, and EMBL and gene bank. So which comes under nucleic acid protein nucleic acid databases. Next one is RNA databases. So which includes ribosomal database databank project, siRNA database, and tRNA sequence database, which comes under RNA database. And coming to the drug databases, so which contains the information of drugs, which includes PubChem, ligand and ligand depot, which gives the information of drugs. Coming to the literature databases, we have PubMed Central, Oxford, Nature, and PNAS, which gives the information about literature. Next, genome databases. So these databases are specially for total genome of an organism, which includes ACEDB, that is C. elegans, Caenorhabditis elegans. Flybase database, which contains information about Drosophila. Next, organelle genome databases, which contains the information about organelle genomes. So it includes OGMP, that is organelle genome mega sequencing program, OGMP, and GoBase, which comes under organelle genome databases. Next, for comparative and phylogenetic databases, we have COG database, which clusters of orthogonal groups of proteins, which gives the information about phylogenetic classification of proteins. Next, metabolic databases, which gives the information of metabolic intermediates and metabolic pathways. That is, we have K, that is Pattern Encyclopedia Genes and Genomes, and Brenda, which is about functional enzymes. So K and Brenda, which gives the information about metabolic pathways and metabolic intermediates. And coming to the other databases, we have microarray gene expression genome databases, which gives information about microarrays, and OMM, that is information about immune diseases, and TARE, that is Arabidopsis information resource, so which comes under other databases. So this is all about list of different databases which are very important. That is protein databases. Of protein database, we have primary protein, secondary protein, and tertiary protein databases. Second one is nucleic acid databases. Third one is RNA databases. Fourth one is drug databases. Fifth one is literature databases. Sixth one is organelle genome databases. eighth one is metabolic databases, and ninth one is other databases. So with this we have completed information about databases. Thank you.